Hello, MedTech Insight enthusiasts. This is Dr. Jennifer Joe with my co-host, the fabulous Dr. Ami Bhatt. During each show, we talk with two guests about the latest in innovation in digital health, biotech, and healthcare, with a clinical focus on technologies that we think will be game changers. Dr. Bhatt is a cardiologist who built the Massachusetts General Hospital telecardiology program and was most recently named the Chief Innovation Officer at the American College of Cardiology. Dr. Bhatt and I co-authored the 2021 Springer Healthcare Information Technology for Cardiovascular Medicine, Telemedicine, and Digital Health. Be sure to check that out. And I am scrolling a little bit here. Sorry about that. So be sure to check out our textbook, which you can find there. And when I'm not hosting the show, I see patients in the VA emergency room, urgent care, and hospitalist setting. MedTech Insights is a live interactive talk show, and we love interacting with our audience. So please be sure to post your comments or questions for us in the social feed. That could be LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook, and we'll be sure to incorporate them into the show. We'd love to know who you are, where you're watching from, and what you're working on. All shows are recorded and available after the fact at our website, Vanguard.Health /MedTech Insights. We are rebranding and moving to a new space soon, so be sure to be on the lookout for that. I want to keep this short. So Dr. Bhatt, you want to keep this short. I will be co-chairing the Sensor Summit coming up in March. Be sure to look for that because I am very excited about sensors, using them in digital health, and bringing them to use in the clinical setting. And Dr. Bhatt, you're going to give me some updates. I don't want to talk for you.
I will give you some updates. You always say keep it short, but there's so much to share.
There is a lot of
Happy New Year.
Yeah, it's a new year.
It's a new year. It is 2022. And, we're trying to make it a different year than 2021. So we'll work at that.
Yeah, we are trying.
The Consumer Electronics Show begins tomorrow. It has been shortened tomorrow through Friday, but there's still some very good digital health that's going to be there and wearables. And ideally, we will come back to you with an update on what we thought the highlights were sometime in the next couple of weeks. On Friday, we were to have a great session on bias in artificial intelligence. And unfortunately, several of the people involved are unable to come because of COVID. So we are going to, rebrand that with the Consumer Technology Association and have it be virtual. So more data on that coming soon on our social media sites. We'll give you some updates. And then the Cardiovascular Summit from the American College of Cardiology is around the corner in February. Hopefully COVID will be better and that will be in person, but if not, we will have it virtually.
February is hopeful, Dr. Bhatt. February is hopeful. You are hopeful.
And there we're going to talk about subspecialty care and how subspecialty care can be done in a hybrid model. So both virtual and in person, and how that might actually be better for the quality of care and fiscally for practices. So I think that'll be an interesting conversation. But today, one of our most exciting ways to start the new year, we are going to think about artificial intelligence. And importantly, we're going to think not about what that means for the future, but what is actually happening today with the level of computing intelligence we have in really making a difference in active clinical practice in population health, including during COVID. So I will go ahead. Is this a good time, Jen, to introduce our first guest?
Of course.
Great. We have Mona Flores. Dr. Mona Flores is the global head of medical AI at NVIDIA. She oversees NVIDIA's AI initiatives in medicine and healthcare to bridge the chasm between technology and medicine. She first joined NVIDIA in 2018 with a focus on developing the healthcare ecosystem. And before joining NVIDIA, she served as the chief medical officer of the digital health company Human Resolution Technologies, after I think almost a 25-year career in medicine and cardiothoracic surgery.
Oh, wow.
She received her medical degree from Oregon Health Science University, so AHSU, followed by general surgery residency at UCSD, postdoctoral fellowship at Stanford, and then a cardiothoracic surgical residency and fellowship at Columbia University in New York. So to say that she's familiar with the practice of medicine is an understatement. She also has a Master of Biology and an MBA, and worked in investment banking for some time before she started pursuing medicine and technology. So,
Oh my gosh,
very
putting all of our
well-rounded.
careers to shame.
I
Okay.
know, I know. But it's wonderful because she's amazing at what she does, and I'm so excited for our audience to hear from her as to how we can really apply computing intelligence to population health. And it's not something in the future. It's here today. It's being done. So maybe let's start by bringing out Dr. Mona Flores.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ami and Jen. You're too kind. Yeah, I'm very excited to be here, and I'm excited to talk about AI and what it's doing for medicine. Not only what is it going to do for medicine in the future, but what is it doing for medicine today.
That's perfect. And maybe if you could start, Dr. Flores, with just, can you tell us a little bit about NVIDIA and healthcare for those people who maybe aren't familiar with the company, and how you guys bring AI to healthcare? Just a broad overview before we get specifically into the COVID studies with Rhino Health.
Yes, for sure. So it's funny. Sometimes you mention NVIDIA to folks, and they're like, "NVIDIA, what? The chip company?" And it's true. NVIDIA, started as a chip company
I might have
20,
said that.
10 years ago. Yeah, for sure.
I might have said that.
However, we actually have been in healthcare. We've been in healthcare for more than 13 years now. We started with having our GPUs inside of machines inside. Like, I don't know if you remember when the 3D ultrasound came out for pregnant mothers, and you could see the baby in utero in 3D, there was an NVIDIA GPU inside that enabled that. So we were in medical instruments to start with, and then 2012 came, and the new era of deep learning emerged, or re-emerged, I should say. And it was very obvious that parallelization was very important, and that is exactly what GPUs are excellent at, being able to do parallel processing. So we got into the game of AI, and today we are the AI company. For healthcare specifically, we are one step removed from the patients in that we are not going out and making a CT scanner per se, but what we're doing is creating uh, software development kits and software and libraries that developers are able to take and be able to package into medical instruments or into clinical solutions or into any kind of AI-enabled assist solution or decision support system that they need. So this is really where we play. We are the enablers of everyone who wants to use AI to better medicine.
That's wonderful. It's funny because we often talk about AI and algorithms. And one of the things that many of us do, and I'm a culprit, is when talking to people, especially, clinicians or investors, about what comes next, we start with the word algorithm and then we extend it to AI. And although that's true, I will say that companies like NVIDIA take the kind of computer intelligence and science and are able to really directly apply that. And so just for people to know, at NVIDIA, you talked about imaging and being able to use imaging and do those insights. I think you're also in rheumatology. Is that right?
We are in everything that you could think of
Right.
that could benefit from computing, including drug discovery. NVIDIA is at the heart of that. And that's,
Fantastic.
again, because of the computing capabilities and the ability to create algorithms of all sorts, whether for video or imaging or genetic data, or even molecular simulation in order to do drug discovery. All of that is enabled by compute. And we don't just have the actual hardware compute, we have the whole stack that allows you to use, a chip by itself is useless, right? What you need is the ability to program it easily and to be able to use it in an easy manner. And that's what we do at NVIDIA. We build the whole stack so that any developer can intersect us at whatever level of the stack that they want and be able to develop their products to make it the best product possible out there.
That's great. And that's a great point, right? Developers can come in at whichever level it is that they need to be able to use that data and move forward. And that's very unique, I think, about this relationship. Dr. Flores, maybe we'll give you a chance to take a sip of water. And I think we have a video that we can show, perhaps, if we want to share screen.
Yeah, let me do that.
Right. So just to give a little bit of a baseline to our audience, and then we'll bring Dr. Ittai Dayan in. next.
And while we're getting set up, we would just love when our viewers write in and talk with us. So we have Dr. Falsafi, who is viewing from San Diego, California. And then good to see you. Glad you're watching. Would love to hear more about what you're working on and any questions for our guest. And then we have David Casero, who's watching from New Jersey. He's the AWS Healthcare and Life Science Lead. Thanks for watching. Would love to have your insights or questions for a guest. And then we already have some questions and comments coming in. So thank you to David Chung for the great comment that you need a great ecosystem to help democratize tech adoption. So would love to hear more thoughts, maybe from our guest about what that means. But we are moving into the video. So adding it to the stream. And then Dr. Flores, where did you want to play the video, from the beginning or the end?
We played from the beginning, but just as a background, this is a video that summarizes a study that we did in developing an AI algorithm, AMI, about an AI algorithm that you could perhaps use, Jen, in the ER in order to triage patients that have COVID.
We do
So,
we do run into issues sometimes with triaging. Not always, but sometimes. Maybe it happens a fair amount.
And this is a study that our guest, also Ittai, Dayan, Ittai and I actually embarked on this study about, Ittai, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. And I'm going to let the video talk for itself. So here, let's play it.
In 2020, COVID-19 introduced an unprecedented challenge to the world. As hospital beds filled and resources like ventilators and medical staff stretched thin, that challenge became a crisis. An urgent response was needed, and it called for the combined efforts of the world's research and healthcare communities. But how can researchers in different hospitals work together to anticipate shortages in critical resources to better meet patient needs? The answer is AI-powered NVIDIA federated learning. NVIDIA partnered with Mass General Brigham to develop an AI model that could predict the oxygen needs of patients with COVID-19 symptoms. To maximize the model's accuracy and benefit as many patients as possible, they turned to NVIDIA federated learning. How does it work? Federated learning lets multiple institutions collaborate on AI model training, helping them develop more accurate models than they could on their own. By leveraging diverse data sets, the volume and quality of data is increased. And because only model parameters, not the data itself, are shared with the centralized server, data privacy is preserved. 20 institutions from across the globe joined the initiative. The results? A 16% improvement of the average performance measured across all participating sites, and an average increase of 38% in generalizability when compared to models trained at any single site. The model was further tested at 3 hospitals independent from the original 20 institutions, and the results were exceptional. For predicting ventilator need within 24 hours of a patient's arrival in the ER, the model achieved a sensitivity of 95% and a specificity of over 88%. This is the first step toward future clinical deployment. This study showed that federated learning is a powerful tool that can build globally robust AI models without sharing data. Critical industries, from energy to financial services to manufacturing, can use it to maximize the benefits of AI. To learn more about federated learning, visit the link in this video's description.
Okay, so here it is.
Oh, that's fantastic. Let's I have so much to say, but let's bring on Dr. Ittai Dayan, since he did this work with you. So Ittai, co-founder.
Happy New Year, and welcome to our special event.
Oh, oops. All right, we got that. All right. Our special event is co-founder and CEO Rhino.Health, Dr. Ittai Dayan, really transforming the way healthcare AI solutions are created, adopted, and measured. Rhino.Health platform provides access to a large distributed data set from a diverse group of patients and empowers models that deliver consistent results, ultimately improving health outcomes for large populations of patients. He did this drawing on his background as a clinician and a researcher, and he's really interested, and you can hear why this resonates with me, in creating equitable access to advanced AI-based diagnostics and treatment pathways in diverse populations. The exam study is the one published in Nature Medicine that he helped lead, and that we're going to be talking about using federated learning to train a healthcare AI solution on diverse data across institutions. Importantly, prior to co-founding Rhino.Health, Ittai was with us at Mass General Brigham, serving as an executive director, leading the Center for Clinical Data Science, and oversaw development of 20 clinical applications using AI, collaborated closely with tech leaders, and accelerated adoption of AI-based healthcare solutions. Previously, he too had other lives. He was at Boston Consulting Group doing market transformation for biopharma biotech. He's also studied at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, and he serves on the editorial board of Nature Digital Medicine. So very excited to have Dr. Ittai Dayan join us as well to talk about this.
Well, hello, and thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So this is incredibly exciting. All those people who know me from social media know that as soon as you published your paper, I was maybe the first person to constantly send it out to people with a level of very, intellectual interest, going, look at this, look at what we can do. When we think about the work that you guys did, I would just love to hear your thoughts about when we use AI at a single given center. Sometimes it does a really good job. What we learned from you is that we did it at 20 centers, and really even the centers that performed the best were able to do better through federated learning. Maybe for our audience, even though we showed them the video, could you tell us a little bit about what you think the strengths of this most recent research were, and how that's going to kind of apply to other population health?
Absolutely. So we've had a lot of experience in developing AI solutions in one center or even in 16 centers affiliated with the Mass General Brigham system. And we've found that it is difficult to create a performant model that would work across the globe using only data from New England. That's not a unique problem. And in fact, last year, I think the New England Journal of Medicine published a piece showing that over 90% of the algorithms were created in 3 cities in America, which I think was San Francisco, New York, and Boston. So this is like a big issue.
Good to make the list.
Yeah.
It's a problem. Sorry, that's a problem.
No, but still, and when we created the COVID prognosis algorithm at Mass General, the target was eventually not to have it used only in Mass General, which is a fairly, well-resourced site with kind of like all the cutting-edge technology and, well-staffed emergency departments, etc. But to take that and be able to use that anywhere. And we realized that taking the FDA route and turning it into a medical device would take a very long time and wouldn't necessarily fit the mark because it wouldn't include sufficiently diverse data. And getting an emergency use authorization wouldn't necessarily be trusted by clinicians or expected to, make life and death decisions using an algorithm. And that inspired us to look into federated learning as a way to do a big data collaboration that will really democratize the development of AI and expose it to more diverse patient populations. And that's where NVIDIA came in and provided us with their cutting edge at the time, Clara federated learning technology, and supported the installation of that around the world, in Europe, in North America, South America, APAC, etc., and led to the publication, which is exam. Following the study, we were really inspired to create a product using NVIDIA technology and more in order to really turn federated learning from kind of like a very powerful SDK into a fully commercial product, which is basically Rhino.Health. And we've, of course, continued to collaborate since then into new greener horizons. But definitely this was the kind of like the catalytic moment of federated learning, in our opinion. Also, because this is one of the only and first real-world federated learning studies in which hospital data centers actually spoke with one another
Mhm.
rather than kind of a few computers in the same room talking with one another. So this was kind of like a big proof of concept showing how with federated learning you can, in the matter of weeks, bring your algorithm around the world and prove that it can perform around the world and ensure that it will perform around the world because it has been exposed to a truly diverse data set.
That's wonderful. So I guess a few things for our audience to just kind of re-emphasize, because there's so much in this. So the first is, in using federated learning at these 20 centers, the 20 centers did not have the same electronic medical records, they did not have the same computer systems, right? And they did not need to. NVIDIA enabled them to be able to go and get that data. They were able to get the data and do it in a way where personalized health information did not need to be shared all the way back to the center. So in terms of privacy, it was much easier, therefore, well, not easy. They set up a really great system. Therefore, we did not have to worry about privacy at each of those individual centers at the same place going anywhere beyond the hospital in which that data was held, right? So I think that's incredibly important. And then the third is to remind people of what the video showed. When we were looking at COVID overwhelming hospitals, this was a way for us to look at chest x-rays and common data that Dr. Joe would obtain in an ER and say, these are the patients who are going to have low oxygen, be sick, and need more help. And these are the patients who are not going to need that and will be relatively okay, in a quick and decisive manner that was very specific and very sensitive, and therefore able to help these institutions deliver the appropriate care to the appropriate patients, rather than try our best clinically one at a time using clinical acumen, which, don't get me wrong, is very important. But with that
Did Dr.
rapidity
Butt
of
like
speed,
just question
yeah.
my no?
No, I think so. So I think
real.
those are some of the
I need
highlights
more
that
data
I
points.
would see, right? Dr. Flores, Dr. Dayan, other highlights to this technology, to this study that you think people should take away before I get to the question, which is, where do we go from here? So first, other takeaways you really want people to get from this study and from this type of federated learning work.
Well,
I
maybe
think one oh,
go ahead.
sorry, go ahead, Mona.
I was just going to say one thing, actually. So remember in the beginning of the call, you asked, how does NVIDIA play in healthcare? And the way NVIDIA played, and specifically in exam and federated learning, is we have the software that enables you to federated learning. But this is where companies like Rhino.Health, which Ittai is the CEO of, can actually take it to the next level, to people like Jen in the ER for her to use, and other hospitals and clinicians, because now they take a product that is more for the developers, and they're able to package it in a way where it is easy. If you have 10 or 20 hospitals, and I think, Ittai, you already have, you have hospitals, a collaboration of 8 hospitals looking at pancreatic cancer, and all they have to do is push the easy button with Rhino.Health and be able to do federated learning without them having to know how to operate the software, without them having to have developers, to be data scientists. So I think that's where, we package this technology so that companies can take it to the next level, like Rhino.Health has done. Sorry, Ittai, I just wanted to make sure to bring that back to.
No, this has been a really great symbiosis story in which we took very powerful technology and helped turn that into a clinically and real-world useful tool that doesn't require you to be a very, very sophisticated user. And the other thing, Mona, I would say about the collaboration is I think it highlighted the fact that people talk a lot about data interoperability and technological interoperability. People don't talk a lot about regulation and trust in data. And the truth of the matter is that data is becoming increasingly local, while the needs for larger patient cohorts and for more interoperability is also growing. And that creates a contradiction. Today, getting access to data in Europe and being able to work across even states in the US, states in Europe, places in most of the other world, which is in GDPR-like provision, is very difficult. And the technology like federated learning allows you to get in line with that regulation. And the second thing is, beyond the question of if everybody works on the same EMR or on the same PACS, there's a question of are people willing to lose control of their data and their patients' data, which will eventually mean that they have no way of knowing what the data is going to be used for, who is it going to be provided with, what is the kind of like use cases it's going to support. While federated learning allows you to keep full control over the data, and in that regard, truly and dramatically accelerate collaborations. Exam itself, we had IRBs approved in 2 weeks around the world. We had collaborations agreements signed in 4 to 5 weeks. We now had with our brain aneurysm a full-blown project around the world set up in less than 3 weeks. This is truly transformative, and anybody who's ever, fulfilled an NIH grant or something like that can recognize that this may be a year faster than you'd expect in some cases.
Absolutely. I love this. So John Su, Dr. Su says, love the fact that NVIDIA linked several thousand computers to search for mu receptors to try to deal with the opioid crisis. Fantastic. Good. A lot of excitement out there. Dr. Tiwari says, hello, everyone. Happy joining here. I direct clinical operations at Logi AI, an AI-based contactless digital patient communication platform where we use medical imaging and conversational chatbots to deliver care. That's fantastic. Excited to have you with us. I love what you just said, Ittai, which is the clinician's trust, check, earned, right? Regulatory issues, check, earned. Privacy remaining within that hospital for both of those groups, very important, right? Able to be interoperable across all of this data. And then lastly, the first thing you said, which is taking something as complicated as what NVIDIA puts together and saying, I can make this something that is explainable to the people who will contribute and collaborate, and then will be easy for them to do. So I love all of this. Let's talk a little bit in the last few minutes about cost. Love the idea that we can do this everywhere. I like that you talked about places with differing GDPs, if you will, because they were all included in your study. And I know you're focusing on that in the brain aneurysm study, in pancreatic cancer and other studies too. But a lot of people will then say, how's this really going to make it out of the research realm? Cost? What do we do about that?
And David also echoes the same question that you just brought up, Dr. Boyetz.
Well, maybe, Ittai, you start this time.
Well, while Mona secures a few more minutes to think about the response.
No, I just wanted to be respectful because I started the other time. Happy to start.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'd say that the federated learning concept is ideal for low-income areas, in the sense that you just need a fairly simple edge device in order to connect to a network, and you don't need to move all of your data to the cloud in order to benefit from cloud technologies. And I won't go into the exact technical specifications of that, but being connected for a federated server allows you to pull and leverage more advanced technologies that are orchestrated centrally, including cloud technologies, without having to push all of your data to cloud.
Okay.
And in that regard, it lets you actually benefit from the agility and the kind of like diversity and richness of cloud services without having to make a big commitment. And I can say that even at Mass General, which is a fairly well-funded and large institution, making a decision like moving all of your PACS data to the cloud just so you can do data science one day is a very non-trivial decision. While having the ability to put a fairly simple edge device in your data center that will allow you to tap into the value of data science and collaborations is a much kind of like more no-regret move. So I think, I can't say what the price is of one unit, but it's definitely makes the technology accessible to a much broader audience than it would have been otherwise.
That's a great point. Mona, thoughts?
And you don't have to buy specific technology to do federated learning. In that, many people, one it gives you the ability. If your data is on the cloud, you can still do federated learning, and you can do your compute on the cloud. But if you have even one GPU in your data center already, you can utilize that to do federated learning. The beauty of it is you're distributing the compute requirements, because now you're only computing on your specific data set. So you're not needing a lot of compute, because you don't have thousands and thousands of records that you have to go through. So in a way, it is making it cheaper to do AI, because everyone is just paying for a very limited part of the whole equation.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Go ahead,
I think
Jen.
these were all great comments. Maybe it's a good time, Dr. Bott, to bring in David's fuller question, because it really just elaborates on that a little bit more. Sorry, it's very long. So a question from David, who's the strategic business manager at AWS. He'd love to get your take on where to take it from here. COVID has shown how technology can drive better outcomes, lower cost of care, and take personalization to the next level. But with that said, AI is still a very project-oriented practice, not widely adopted in enterprise healthcare settings. Understanding how to use it is at the enterprise level is still not quite there, is what David's arguing. And there are lots of variables that slow down the process and the progress. How do you see continuing to bring down these barriers and get the success you're seeing today with all of these projects? Great question.
Great question, David.
Well, I would think, David, I think you said it already in your question, continuing to. This is not, a you drop off the cliff and all of a sudden everybody is using AI. Or maybe I should say jump higher off the cliff, not down. But it's a journey. And again, what, at least with federated learning, what we did is we put it in a peer-reviewed journal so that people now understand this is legit, this can be done. There is many steps that need to be taken in order to take it legitimately to a clinical level. The FDA will have to approve the algorithm before any hospital can use it, right? So it's the FDA itself is going to have to look at federated learning and say, yeah, this is a way that makes it easier for us to actually test models and continue, as Rhino is doing, validating models, as during their lifetime and checking back that they still work. So there is still a lot of work to be done, but we're putting the foundations down. And I think every day we're getting closer to that idea. Ittai?
Sounds good.
Agreed.
How's it going with the FDA?
The FDA, by the way, are very interested in federated learning, and both because of the quality of product would be higher, and also because the FDA are looking to allow frameworks for continuous learning. And the only rational way of doing continuous learning is by having a very broad cross-section of data at every given moment, which is afforded by federated learning. So I think the FDA is definitely interested in adopting new technologies to enable that.
Fantastic. So I see that it's 12:36. Time goes by way too fast. See, Jen, this is why I didn't want to do too much intro. Maybe, Ittai, if you want to give a couple closing thoughts about what people should be looking for from Rhino Health moving forward, and then Mona, yours as well, and then Jen and I can close out. Ittai, to you.
So, as was alluded to earlier, we're now supporting the National Cancer Institute's early detection research network and building a federated infrastructure between multiple US hospitals. We're also supporting EU to US, EMEA, and other regions building federated infrastructure. And we're planning on announcing some additional new exciting collaborations. If you would like to join a federated network, start your own federated network, or learn more about federated learning in general, then we'd definitely be happy to speak with you.
Lovely. Dr. Dayan, thank you for joining us. Dr. Flores.
Yeah, I think these are really exciting times. And I think every day is going to bring us closer to a world where precision medicine is possible. I think where yesterday, AI was a plus, was something nice to have, today it's a necessity. And I definitely do not think AI is going to replace doctors, as some people say, but AI will replace doctors who do not use AI. It will, doctors who do not use AI will replace those that do, because it is becoming something just like electricity. You cannot run a hospital today without electricity. You cannot run it without heating, without water. And I think AI and computing is getting into the fabric of medicine, just like all of those industries.
That's fantastic. So Jen, a couple other comments that were out there. Did you want to just pop them up? I know there are a lot of people saying things.
I know, it's such a robust conversation. 30 minutes does go so fast. Dr. Shu says, hey, AI has been used for a very long time, for the last 10 years. We've been using it in cloud dispensing of insulin. Data collection of that data science determines individual care for precise amounts of insulin. Great, good point, great point. I don't have the insight or knowledge to comment on that. Argus Sun says, federated learning is innately compatible with blockchain. And then Nicholas Turney really wanted to, who is a technology specialist offering data management. Quick question, he wanted to see if there is going to be a follow-up study to see how this goes afterwards. I don't think we have time to answer these questions, but I know that our guests are on social media, and I'm sure if you reach out to them directly, they will be, or they might pop back on social media and answer some of these questions. Want to say a big thank you to all of our audience, all of our listeners who join us for these shows. It's important to have your interest and to have your dedication to driving innovation forward. Dr. Flores and Dr. Dayan, that was a massive leap, deep science of building federated learning, proving its worth, getting it out there, publishing it in a major journal to show how other people can do it. And very excited that the FDA is engaging in that. And we've been talking about this for so long. So you're doing the hard work of bringing it to market so that we can all see it, and hopefully that our patients can benefit from it. And I myself am looking forward to benefiting from it in the ER, so I can use other people's experiences with who to discharge with oxygen or not. Thank you for being here. I will tell you
that after today, Dr. Joe will no longer say NVIDIA is just a chip company. So we have Glenn Tucker, CMO at Greater New Bedford Community Health Center, saying always looking for ways to improve care, bringing back the point that federated learning is really going to allow us to provide true population health in the areas that need it the most. And that is so important. And when people ask, does AI worsen the digital divide? The answer we say today with federated learning is no. We are going to be able to make care better. David, great comment that you ended with, and maybe this is one point to end on. David commented on project versus enterprise. And we talk about this a lot in innovation. Is this just going to be multiple products, or are we going to turn something to enterprise level? And I will say, in my opinion, when we think about how to innovate, it's important to recognize that we need to have both. We need to have enterprise level change that happens perhaps more slowly, and projects that push us forward faster. And I think, therefore, it's okay to have both, and I think they will both inform each other, and we need both. We're not going to be able to move at the pace that healthcare is asking us to move without it. So always fun to have our AWS colleagues here. Jared Saul has taught us a lot about this. Monica Subrahmanyam up here in Boston. And of course, what an honor to have both of you, Dr. Flores, Dr. Dayan, here today. The work you have done is massive, and I hope that our audience senses that too. But it's not over yet. You guys continue to do great work. We look forward to seeing what that looks like, and perhaps having you back on the show in another several months to hear what else has changed in this rapid pace of innovation in healthcare.
Thank you to our audience.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Bye-bye.